Good evening. A very, very warm welcome from me in Cambridge and on behalf of the team to everyone on this call. And it's a great pleasure to open up this evening talk on life is a mind game. And I hope that everyone can hear fine. Maybe it'd be nice to hear where you're connecting from. You can just pop in the chat and we can feel where everyone is. And we just like to say this session is interactive. We welcome your comments. The format will be sharing from our speaker today, Yogesh, for about 20 minutes. And then after that, there'll be dialogue, your questions and some thoughts, and to continue. So I can't see any chat messages yet, but I know we are joined by, I can see Germany is here and possibly China, London, near Oxford, and France. So this subject actually is very, very empowering. And I was thinking of the sports people that we hear, and one particular quote by Usain Bolt. He was saying, the power of the mind is incredible. Nurture it, train it, and unleash its full potential. So those who know, they know the value of getting the mindset for success, the ones that are actually on the field, but we are all on the field, of course, that this is like a game we are playing, but the main game being in the mind. And Henry Ford, he said that whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. So it is extraordinary how our mindset affects our life. So welcome, I see for US, Netherlands, Norfolk, and South America. So I'm going to take this opportunity to welcome in now Yogesh, and some of you may have already been connected before, but for those who haven't, he's been practicing Raj Yoga for more than 30 years, based in Istanbul, and for the last 17 years has been coordinating activities of the Brahma Kumaris in Turkey. And his background is in corporate personal development, training and running workshops and courses around the world. And joining us from, not from Turkey today, you have to tell us where you're from. We're joining from today because Cyprus, is it? Yes, so welcome, and really looking forward to this discussion. Welcome, Yogesh.
Thank you. Hello and good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you can. Thank you.
All right. Yes, I was in Cyprus for the last few days, but I just flew back a few hours ago. So I'm back in Istanbul now.
Oh, well done for making the call. Just landed.
So thanks for the invitation. And when I was invited to join for this evening's talk, and I was asked for a subject, then this is the one that came to mind. The mind, that life is indeed a mind game. And this has become more and more real for me and confirmed more and more over the decades as I came into this study of self-awareness and meditation quite some time ago when I was a child. And so what happens is when you build meditation and self-awareness into your life, then you begin to observe your relationship with your own mind. And then that relationship continues to mature and evolve. And you realize, in fact, that the whole of the life experience is connected to your relationship with your mind. How you are handling your mind is deciding how you feel about, for example, criticism or praise, scenes of sorrow or scenes of happiness, and so on. And in the ancient texts from around the world, we have been reminded of the importance of the mind. So, for example, in the Indian mythology, they say Man Jeet Jagat Jeet, which means if you conquer your mind, you conquer the world. Marcus Aurelius, he pointed out the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your mind. And as was mentioned in the text for this program, and Sarah also mentioned, that whether it's in sport or it's in business or in politics, the mind plays a very crucial role. And often we hear in sport, whether it's individual sports like tennis or team sports, if a talented and good player is not performing well, then the term used is he has lost form. She's out of form at the moment and therefore has been dropped. But what is form? Where does form come from? What is the formula for form? When we say form, what are we referring to? And some also say form is temporary, but talent is permanent. So it means that the individual, the sports person, still has the talent, still has the ability, but is not able to access it and use it on the court or on the soccer pitch or wherever it may be. And why is that? It's because he or she may have lost confidence. So the mind is feeling weak, and that may be for a variety of reasons, perhaps some personal, private reasons in that individual's life. So when the mind loses confidence, then even a top sports person is unable to perform at their normal level. And so why does this happen? And how can we apply this then to the whole of life? It has also been said the mind is like a child. Now, a child can be very sweet, very cute, very lovely. And when we see a child, everybody seems to go a bit squishy. We love the innocence of the child. But also a child only knows what he or she wants, not what he or she needs. And so sometimes the mind becomes like this. It starts demanding things. It starts chasing after desires. It makes a small thing into a huge issue. And then when we see the huge issue, we may feel afraid, we may feel tense, and we may lose our happiness. And so it's like this, that let's say over here is me, and over here is life. The tendency that we generally have is we try to control life. And we believe that if I can control life, which means controlling people around me and circumstances around me, then I will be happy, I'll feel secure, and I'll be at peace. But the news is you cannot control life. If you try to control life, you will become stressed for sure. But between me and life, there is my mind. If I'm able to bring my mind under my control, if I'm able to make my mind my friend, if I'm able to understand my mind and build a good relationship with my mind, then life is less able to stress me. And I think in essence, that is really what spirituality is about. Learning how to fix, improve my relationship with my own mind. When the mind is strong, when the mind is stable, when the mind is still, then the experience of life is very different. I want to show one or two simple slides to highlight this idea. So just bear with me a moment here. Okay, here's a very simple one. It's the theory of relativity. So as you can see here, figure number 1, here is you, and next to you, there is a problem. Could be anything, could be a relationship problem, it could be a physical problem, financial problem, anything. It's a simple question, who is bigger? Okay, so problem is bigger than you. And therefore, when you see this problem, when you encounter this problem, you may get anxious. This may worry you, and you may find yourself losing your sleep and losing your happiness. But let's come over now to figure number 2. Now, here is the problem, the same size, and here is you. Here are you. Who's bigger now? So obviously you are bigger than the problem. The problem still exists. Situation is still as it was. However, for you, it is no longer a big problem. But what has changed from figure 1 to figure 2? The situation, the problem has not changed. It is still the same. But of course, what has changed is you have grown. You have become bigger. You have become stronger. And therefore, your relationship with what you were seeing as a problem is now different. Big problem is now small problem. And therefore, you don't have the anxiety, the fear, the worry anymore. And you're able to then find solutions to dealing with it. Now, this may seem very simplistic, but it really highlights a very, very important principle. And this was something I was told in my childhood. The way to deal with any adverse situation is, first of all, stabilize your mind in your self-respect. Stabilize your mind in your dignity, in your peace. Spend a few moments doing that first, and then look at the situation, and you will find it doesn't scare you. When situations and circumstances scare us, cause us some tension, then our thinking becomes distorted and we overreact to things. It's difficult to find a solution when the mind is clouded by negative, difficult emotions. But when the mind is still, when the mind is stable, then the intellect, which enables us to discern and to decide, it becomes very clear and we're able to see solutions. And this is something I think is very useful for us, especially as we pass through these current times where it is not possible to keep up with what's happening around us. We know that the world is moving very fast. We know technology is moving very fast. We hear all the time about the relentless march of artificial intelligence and what that can do. The only thing we have some control over is what's happening inside of us. And it's very important to make time every day just to visit the peace, which is at the very core of our consciousness. And this is a skill that we can develop through practice. Make the mind quiet. When the mind is quiet, when our thoughts slow down, we are able to see solutions which we could not see before. We're able to see what thinking I need to change in myself in order to change a situation outside of me. I'll give one or two examples. But the silent mind is able to see what the chattering mind is never able to see. Now, when the mind is chattering, talking all the time, then we're also always looking for solutions outside to ourselves. We want people to change, we want situations to change, so I can be more happy. But of course, this complicates life, because then we try to use the energy of force or pressure or control for things to adjust to my liking. And of course, other people may not like to adjust their behavior. But self-awareness and spirituality tells us, I may not be able to control circumstances or indeed the behavior of people, but the thing which is in my control is my vision towards circumstances and people. I can choose how I wish to see a situation. I can educate my mind to see a situation so that it becomes productive and meaningful for me. Simply put, today I may not be able to control what life is giving to me, but I can absolutely control how I choose to receive it. So is my attention going on what life is giving to me, and therefore perhaps I get angry or upset or worried about why life is giving that to me? Or is my attention going to how do I choose to receive this? What meaning am I choosing to give to this situation, which may not be the way I like it to be? When we shift our focus from being consumed by what life is giving to me to being concerned with the way I'm receiving it, then we are learning the art of winning the mind game, winning the game of life. And what does it mean to win the game? In my understanding and experience, winning the game means as you pass through life, you pass with your happiness intact, with your self-respect stable, and with your dignity. You pass through praise and criticism. You pass through so-called success or failure. You pass through being the center of attention or sometimes being ignored. You're able to pass through all of the situations, your self-respect, your dignity, and your happiness intact. This indicates an individual who has learned how to apply spiritual understanding in the practical life. Now, let's take an example of how a change of mindset has an impact upon our relationships. And this is a real life example of somebody who asked a question to one of our senior teachers some years ago. And I just happened to be in the room and picked up some really great tips. So in this situation, there was one lady who was kind of complaining about another lady, about an older person, saying the older one was kind of antagonizing this younger one, just through her behavior, her rudeness, her manner of speaking, her way of, dealing with her. She felt she was very rude, very disrespectful, and very belittled by the behavior of the older one. So the younger one, she asked our senior teacher that this is the situation and what should I do about this other person? What do you advise? And our senior teacher said to this younger one, well, what do you want from her? She said, what do I want from her? Nothing. I don't want anything. I'm not looking for anything. And the teacher told her, you are wanting something. And this is why you are experiencing this anguish or this sorrow or pain. What do you want from her which you are not receiving? And that is the cause of your suffering. And of course, what it is, which is a very common thing, is we desire respect from others. Without even knowing it, we expect respect. I may say, I don't have any expectations, but the reality is you don't realize you have an expectation until that expectation is not met. The result of a not met expectation is disappointment or some kind of emotional turbulence. And so what this person was told is the first thing you have to do is to stop reacting. And stop reacting not just in words, but also learn to not react on the mental and emotional level. Of course, that takes practice. Because if the other person antagonizes you and you keep reacting, then that dynamic is simply going to continue and become stronger and stronger, and nothing will change. But how to cause that dynamic to collapse is by no longer feeding it. And so how to stop reacting, how to stop taking sorrow, is by working on one's own self-respect. And there, it's a question of reminding the self that no matter how somebody else may behave, but my happiness, my peace of mind, my dignity, my self-respect is my personal property, full stop. It is non-negotiable. So let me work on owning my peace of mind and happiness. Therefore, the behavior of the other will no longer have an effect upon me, and that dynamic of the relationship will collapse, and the relationship will improve, and even the behavior of the other will change. And this is one of the principles of spirituality and understanding the mind. And that is that if I develop greater self-respect, then without asking, without demanding, respect automatically will come to me. And what I have found over the years, applying spiritual understanding in life, is that in fact, situations, events, and also the behavior of other people are simply mirrors for me to be able to know my own self. They are mirrors for me to be able to check how much am I the boss of my own happiness. When this happens, then, we stop being over involved in other people's behavior, and we stop criticizing and complaining, but instead we actually use that situation to make us grow, to make us stronger and wiser and more mature spiritually and emotionally. So just in summary, what I'm saying is this, that it's up to you what you consider a situation to be. Situation you cannot control, but what you consider it to be is your choice. You can consider it to be a game. You can consider it to be an education for yourself. And you can even consider it to be entertainment. And what I've noticed with these amazing, very wise spiritual teachers I've known for many years, something I may be worried about, I may consider to be a big problem, when I mention it to them, they said, this is just entertainment. What's the big deal? What are you worrying about? I think, seriously, entertainment? And they've reached that level of understanding where a spiritual approach to life has become very natural. In fact, it's become a game. And then such people remain very stable, and their presence also generates lightness, positivity, and joy wherever they are. And I feel that's possible for every single person if we simply begin to pay more attention to taking care of the mind with especially morning time, morning meditation, and also applying this principle in life. Let me choose how I wish to see the situation. Let me see how this can make me stronger and make me grow. Okay, so I think I need to pause there.
You know, it's a big gift hearing from those who've been experimenting and experiencing and sharing, because everything you've said is very succinct and understandable. So comments in the chat is similar, very helpful. Now, I was just thinking of Rudyard Kipling and his poem, If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. So it's really helpful to catch, you know, what that mind is. I wanted to ask you, and others do feel free to share in the chat your questions and thoughts, but one from here, what is the essence of that mind that is in that stability, that self-respect, seeing life as a game, feeling it as entertainment? What is at the core that allows that perspective? Would you say, if that's a clear question?
What is at the core that allows that perspective?
Yeah, what is at the seed? I mean, what is at the root that is giving that stability? Yeah.
Well, I think we all carry a context within our minds of how we see life. And for most of us, we just absorb a context through culture, education, family, upbringing, media, and so on. And that's how then our life is shaped by the context we are giving to things. But I think when we begin to explore life more deeply and explore spirituality, you know, we ask ourselves that what really is going on, how to see life, what is a healthy context for life. And certainly in our study in our spiritual university, two contexts I have found very healthy. One is this context of seeing life as a school, and seeing every situation as an opportunity to learn, seeing even difficult people as teachers in disguise, and taking the lessons that they may be bringing to me. And the other one, we see life as a theater performance, as a play or as a drama. And context changes the meaning that we give to things. And so if life is a theater performance, it does mean that every single actor is playing an individual and unique part. And there are times when I have to be active and interact. There are times I have to be the audience and observe. So for me, this understanding, wanting to understand a deeper context of life, helps to see situations differently.
That's very nice, because then your reframing allows for, I think it's a holding of self-respect, but also enjoyment, because as long as we're learning, I think there's enjoyment inside. So then you're kind of you are empowered. So a question that's come in, how to improve self-respect and self-esteem, you touched on that.
Right. Have you got 3 hours? it's a great question, and it's a deep question, of course. What I've understood over the years, and from my own experience, plus also observing the very, very wise people around me, is that, a person's level of self-esteem is at the core of how they feel about life. And so simply put, our self-esteem is weak when we identify with what we do or with what we have. Our self-esteem is strong when I identify with the being part, who I am. In fact, I think I have a little slide here I can just show you. Yeah. So this shows us three zones or 3 areas from which we can live. And generally speaking, most of us in the world, we tend to identify with the doing labels in our lives and with the having labels. So for example, you ask a regular person, who are you? He or she will tell you what they do or what they have. Who are you? Oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a baker, I'm a mechanic. Who are you? I am from this country or that country. Who are you? Oh, well, I'm a mother, or I'm a father. Who are you? I'm of religion X or religion Y. Who are you? Etc., etc., etc. So all these labels, identity labels, wrapped around my doing and having roles. When we identify with that, it generates this thing called ego. The slippery, slimy, shape-shifting creature called ego. And when this forms, then it is an indication of low self-esteem. The sign of low self-esteem is then our happiness and peace goes up and down according to what people say about us, what people think about us, and all that. But I think high self-esteem comes when we step out of the having and the doing zones, and we begin to live in this being zone. And for us in the spiritual understanding, that really means living in that awareness. I am a being of peace. I am a spiritual energy. I am a soul. I am not my roles, but I am the soul behind the roles. In fact, just the other day, I was speaking with somebody who was going through a lot of anguish because of his job role. And we were talking about it, and my suggestion to him was this, that as long as you think you are your job, you will suffer. But when you step away from that and realize I am not my job, I do a job, according to what you identify with will be your level of self-esteem. So even, for example, if you fail at something, and we all fail sometimes, but I need to not wrap my self-value around even that. I need to stay in my dignity. And so to summarize the answer, live in the awareness that I am a peaceful soul. I am a unique actor in the theater of life. I cannot be somebody else, and nobody else can be me. But there is a best me inside of me. And I have to get busy in just bringing that best me out. For me, this was a game changer. This realization there is a best Yogesh inside, And I just have to get busy in bringing that fella out, that divine, divine self out.
Yeah, because our relationships suffer as well, don't they, when we're caught in comparing with others, and quality of life is so different compared to this focus. And then we respect naturally the roles that first of all we're playing and others. A couple of questions are prompted from what you just shared. What does that look like in everyday life? That's one question.
What does what look like?
Possibly living from one's peaceful, unique actor, stable and self-respect. I guess it's connected to this sharing. Yeah, saying, yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, what I've observed in people who really I think have excelled in this is two things. One is a very, very deep humility, because where self-esteem is solid, I think it naturally causes a person to be very humble, genuinely humble. And we know these are two sides of the same coin. Self-esteem and humility go together. And so what I really, when I see someone who's genuinely humble, I just feel I have a lot to learn from that person. Real humility. And how it reflects in life is this, that you don't see that person as an attention seeker. That person may do something great, very good, but they silently carry on with life. They're not demanding appreciation or to be acknowledged or even to be thanked. Such a person can be on the stage singing and dancing and seen by everyone, but also that person can be right at the back of the audience. Nobody sees them. They feel okay in any situation. Why? Because their sense of self-value is not based upon the outside, it's from the inside. So they can play any role in a task or in a group, and it doesn't make them feel less important or more important. And in the company of such a person, you also feel respected. It's not that that person has a high self-esteem and makes you feel like nothing, but the vibe they give off, you yourself feel elevated and uplifted in the vibe of that person, because they are just generating this very, very pure energy. So humility is one thing I've noticed, and the other thing is the heart becomes bigger, which means the capacity to love increases. So what I've seen in such people, is that no matter where they go, who they are with, but there's just this love falling off them. They may be in an airport or dealing with strangers or interacting just for a few seconds with others, but just this attitude of good wishes and kindness and love is coming off them. And people gain a lot just by being around such a person. Love, of course, is a huge word. It contains all these things like to care, to uplift, to sometimes to forgive. But it's the result of doing a lot of work on yourself and overcoming all the ego-based desires, which actually makes the mind weak.
I think that is very clear, and if there's any further comments, because it sort of, then when we notice, we cherish, don't we, to define it, and then we can kind of move forward. And when we're not in that, then it's a signal to get into it also. A simple question: is smiling an important part of self-respect? That's one question that came.
Smiling. Yeah, it's good to smile. Of course, the best thing is to smile from the heart, so the inner smile. But yeah, if that's not happening, then at least smile to myself. I look in the mirror and smile. It's often said that a smile is the beauty of the face. And when we are able to smile from the inside, then the smile comes in our eyes as well as on the face and the lips. And I think it's the result of having a good relationship with myself.
Nice. As a result, yeah. I remember watching actually a program which was about those who are modeling, and they were trying to train them to smile with the eyes, which was awful, isn't it? So, because they called it smize. It was a new word, very strange, but yes, a natural result. What advice would you offer to someone who has felt hurt by another person's behavior? Any steps for coming out of the downward spiral, freeing oneself from the influence or behavior of others, if that doesn't require 2 hours or so to...
It's an important question, and of course it depends on how deep the hurt is. I think one of the big steps involved in dealing with this is realizing that, okay, this person gave a hurt, which was not good, but the thing I did wrong was I took the hurt. So I think firstly, just accepting responsibility that, okay, the way I feel is actually my thing. It's my responsibility. Then I stop blaming the other in my mind, and I stop looking for revenge when I take responsibility for the way I feel. And then added to that is the realization that I can now change the way I feel if I choose to take responsibility for the way I want to see this. And so I have to forgive myself that I took so much sorrow from so-and-so, but then I need to look for lessons. Okay, now what can I learn from this? What lessons are there for me? How can I, in fact, use this experience to make me wiser and stronger and more mature? And I think in some situations, it does help to write these things down. Here are my lessons for myself from this situation. And almost like even, write a letter to myself. Here is what I learned, and here is the way I'm going to now approach future situations with this new understanding. I think if I've identified the learning potential from a situation, then the mind is able to give permission to let go of that memory. And so it's very important to identify the lessons so my mind does not keep dwelling on the pain that I have taken, but use it to make myself grow. And I think one aspect of spirituality is to use adversity to help you to open your wings even more. As sailors would know, and in fact, I have a friend here who's a sailor, and he took me out on his boat a couple of years ago. And I was amazed by, his ability to read the wind. He could just read the wind and know, okay, change the angle of the sail. He tells his team, they pull the ropes and the sail changes angle. Then a little while later, he gives another instruction and they move to the other side of the boat and they change the angle again. And I thought, wow, this guy has been sailing maybe 25, 30 years. He can read the wind and adjust the sails. And I thought that's a great metaphor for life, that, when storms come to you, you can't control the storms. The storms could be the behavior of other people, But what you can do is you can adjust the angle of your sail, which means to adjust your attitude and actually use the energy of that storm or wind to move you further forward on your journey. So even bitter experiences of the past can be turned into fertilizer to enable me to grow.
I'm sure actually we've all had those experiences, but to have it reframed and reminded, because we do need that, and each situation sometimes catches us out, but that actually these are learning opportunities, and great to have the analogies. I had a question, and there may be others with questions, happy to hear, but this topic, life is a mind game. So you mentioned it's an inner victory, which really resonates. But should we also expect an outer victory as well?
I think we shouldn't expect anything, but I think outer victories do follow when we have these inner victories. So let me carry, if I'm carrying my peace of mind, my happiness with me, if I'm using the right, let's say, values in my relationships in my life, I think life cooperates and help comes to you for external victories also to take place. And if I may put it like this, that what I understand in spirituality is that your intention behind your action is actually more important than the action itself. And today we live in a world where, and you see this in sport often, winning at all costs is what's important, whether you win by cheating or by corruption. Sport, also business, also politics, also war. But spirituality is telling us, hang on just a moment. What energies, what attitudes, what principles, what values are you using to get your success? And I find if I'm using the right values, like honesty, dignity, respect, then the outer success comes much more easily, because life cooperates when I am trying to live up to the highest values.
I heard someone share recently that there is a study done that businesses that have not got honesty don't last. I don't have those stats, but it kind of feels intuitively right that if foundation is not with that integrity, it won't be, it can't honor itself ultimately. Yeah, very interesting. I'd love to hear a bit more, this drawing, which was so clear, situational problem is same, but you have become big. If you would like to share a bit more about what that is, it's like larger in experience, or anything you would like to share on that.
Yeah, just for those who may have missed it, if you joined late, I'll just quickly put it up again. So this is what Sarah is mentioning. Yeah, basically this is this spiritual theory of relativity. And what it's trying to point out is, don't focus on the problem, but first focus on yourself and make yourself bigger and stronger. And that means, realize that you as a energy, you as a spiritual being are very, very, very powerful. Your mind is very powerful. But when we get lost in the situation, the problem, then it's as though we are giving away our power. So first be in that awareness. I am a peaceful, a powerful soul, and experience the peace which is deep inside you. So one thing is that making your mind stronger by being rooted in your self-respect. I am a peaceful, powerful soul. And the second aspect of growing is, as we mentioned, I can choose my vision towards this situation. I can choose to see this as a game. I can choose to see this as a learning opportunity. I can choose to see this as theater. I can choose to see this as entertainment. So being aware of that, I can choose my attitude and my vision, plus practice of meditation and making the mind quiet. These two enable you to grow and become stronger. And then you see the situation very differently. You know, I was talking with somebody today that there's a phrase sometimes we hear people say, well, I'm only human. You know, and I was thinking, excuse me, human is the most powerful energy in this world. The human soul is the most powerful energy in the world. If you're a tree or a plant or a blade of grass, you may say, I'm just a blade of grass. But if a human soul is so powerful, we just have to realize it, the power contained within us, within our thoughts. Of course, when our thoughts are weak, the mind feels we have no strength. And that's where we have to keep feeding the mind with positive, powerful, productive, constructive thoughts to fill it with this spiritual energy. And I remember being told once, and I know you know this as well, Sarah, is wonderful saying that determination is the key to success. Which means if I start doing something with weak thoughts, don't know if it'll work out, maybe I'll fail, it's not possible for me, then because thought is the seed, the fruit, which is the action, will also be weak and there'll be a lack of success. If I first fill my thoughts with determination, then that powerful determined thought can lead to a good and successful result.
There's a couple of questions that have come up and maybe connected to what you were just mentioning. So if the intention is more important, but if we do bad, but with good intention, does our intention count? Is the question clear?
Yeah, if we do something bad, but with a good intention, well, of course, we have to go deeper into what bad is. Sometimes, I mean, if you take the example of a simple example of a parent and a child, you know, if a child is misbehaving, a parent may administer some kind of discipline. The child may not like it. So it seems like it's a bad thing being done. Whatever it may be, you take the toy away, or whatever parents do to discipline the child. But the intention is the child will learn through this. For a short time, the child may complain or get upset. In the long term, I want the child to learn, to grow, and to be more mature. So definitely, I think first thing to look at is intention, and then to see what is the appropriate action to take in any situation. Both are important, but I think intention is to be looked at first, and then the appropriate action according to the situation.
Yeah, that helps. And, you know, I guess we're also learning, aren't we? So whatever the situation materializes, it's also another kind of fruit that we can learn from that. And I really liked what you said. It's the first is the awareness and that peaceful, powerful soul. And you highlighted earlier the strength of a calm mind, that discrimination will be there, so less likely for accidents. One question, which is very nice: how can I find my role in this game?
Yeah. Well, I would say there's two things. There is your part and there is your role. It's two separate things. Let me just touch on that for a moment. your part is something to do with like your inner nature, your unique nature. And I think that's the thing to understand first. So for example, there are some people who naturally, they're very jolly. They just can't help making other people happy. They just feel that's who I am. They're always wanting to make others smile and making jokes out of everything, because sometimes they go too far. But anyway, they have this nature. It's like they feel that's my part, is to just make people laugh and to make people jolly. Other people, their part may be more to be more calm and to be more kind of stable, to be more peaceful. They say that's who I am. That's the fabric of my soul. So I think knowing your part means knowing the uniqueness you have to offer to life. It's like understanding the DNA of your soul is to know your part. And then what is my role? Now, role is something which, of course, each person can only discover by themselves. And in my experience, what helps is to make the mind quiet, to keep my mind open to signs, clues, and signals from life, which is going to help me join the dots as to what my particular role is. Your role will be connected also with that which is something you are good at, something which you feel inspired to do, something which kind of sets you on fire. And what helps also is maybe to do a little bit of journaling. I find like in the morning times, just writing the thoughts which may come into your mind connected to any particular topic. If you keep things in your mind, you can just get confused. But if you put them onto paper, it's easier to see a pattern forming. And then the role kind of emerges and you feel, yeah, this is my role. So I would say this part first and then role unfolds.
Yeah, I hadn't heard it put like that before. And I like this kind of a soft inner quality, and then there's the outer manifestation of it, which might be something physical. This question came up recently and it was answered: when you find yourself, you will know your role. I thought, which was also interesting. It's like when you know who you are, which I guess you were saying something similar, your natural inclination as a soul. Then I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think you've said it beautifully, whoever said it. When you know yourself, then your role becomes clearer to you. And you feel from inside, this is exactly my raison d'etre. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And you get very focused. And then all your abilities emerge as your mind becomes focused.
It feels like little patience can be needed too, but it will come. But it's like setting the sails, as you say, with the way, with truth, and then things will conspire. Maybe we have time for one more question. I'm just aware that somehow we've sailed through an hour very, very fast, in the sense that it's been a very enjoyable discussion. But this one, it's just come: how to find yourself when you feel lost in the mind, overwhelmed and consumed by life. Any tips or spiritual guidance? So it's again about finding self, but when there is sort of strong emotions and life circumstances.
Yeah, what I think helps is a change of environment. If you're really feeling lost and it's difficult to come out of it, I think we need to take help from friends. And I think that's one of the reasons in our spiritual university we have meditation centers, a place where you can go where it's peaceful and it's spiritual and it's conducive to clear thinking, where your emotions can cool down and your thinking becomes a bit more clear. And then just, being in an environment where other people are also studying spiritual knowledge, which can just help to sort of upgrade the thinking style. So, let's take help from each other, from others on the journey as well. Why I don't have to battle myself, especially if I'm finding it difficult. Atmosphere, can just help to change your mindset, and it can do wonders.
Yeah, and I love this. You're not on your own. You're never on your own with this. Do you think it works over Zoom? Sometimes we're not always able to reach a place.
I think it's, we have this technology which we didn't have 10 years ago, or we weren't using. So we have to make use of what's available to us. I think there's no substitute for physically being together, but if that's not possible, at least on a digital platform, we can be with others.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, well, a big thanks for this opportunity and for the sharing, Yogesh, and also the presence of everyone on this call. Feels like we're really getting to some beautiful insights and all your questions. If Yogesh, you have anything you would like to share finally, and when you're ready to maybe share some thoughts for meditation for a few minutes before we close. So another question did just fly in there, but you could maybe touch on it. How to overcome what seems like resistance to change that is happening, or loss from what was, even though we know it's an unpredictable world. But if you have any final thoughts on that. Thank you.
Yeah, my picture froze for a moment there. Let me just read the question. Was one of the questions, it seems like
Overcoming resistance to change, even though we know it's an unpredictable world. It's like we know it intellectually, don't we? But still there is this residual resistance.
Yeah, I think, again, from my own experience, I think what's really useful is to talk to myself and to see, am I ready to move on from my current situation, my current reality? Because sometimes, one part of me says, I'm ready to move on, I want to go. Another part of me is still holding on to my old stuff. And there I have to have a conversation with myself and be like, where am I at? What do I really want? And again, the writing to the self really helps to make things more clear.
Yeah, I very much resonate with that. The writing, also sometimes speaking it out, and you can record it and listen back. And it's a bit like a workshop for the self. So, but writing is wonderful. And thank you for these reminders. So, yeah, thank you. And maybe over to you for some guided sharing.
Yeah. Okay. Just do a little meditation to wrap up. So if it's comfortable for you, just have your back straight and just be in a position of alertness, but also feeling comfortable. And I'll just offer a simple guiding commentary. So the world outside of me is the world of sound, the world of movement. It is the world of doing. I cannot control the world outside, but there is also a world inside me, the world of my thoughts, of my feelings, and of my experiences. The world inside is in my own hands. And so let me start by reminding myself, who am I? I am not what I do. I am not what I have. I am. I am peace. I am light. I am the inner being of spiritual energy. I am the soul, the living diamond in the center of the forehead. And from this position, I observe this grand theater of life all around me. Each soul, each actor is playing their own unique and individual part. Scenes come and scenes go. And I learn to be the observer. I learn to see situations from this perspective. I learn to grow. And through this, I can offer the best of me to the theater of life. Remember, I am peace, I am light, I am eternal, and I am free.
You. Thank you so much. Let's hold that energy that's being created and take this opportunity to give maybe a silent wave, and if you're in a position to come into camera, it would be lovely. Thank you, everyone. And that beautiful dignity that's coming from that inner peace, and how it inspires others also. So enjoy and carry on inspiring. Thank you so much, Yogesh, for inspiring us today. And we're just popping in the chat information about the courses if you're not already connected to Inner Space or Brahma Kumaris, and a link for this recording today. So there was a request. Come again, Yogesh. Share more of your insights.
Thank you, and iyi geceler from Istanbul.
Look forward to maybe visiting sometime and learning some language.
Okay.
See you next time. Thank you.